How many general partners can be in a deal before it's so diluted that it's not worth it for anybody to be involved? That's a really hard question to answer specifically. And here's really the deal: is that it's not so much about how many people; it's about how many people are dividing how much of the pie. How big is the pie? So if the pie is very tiny, maybe even one person, there's not enough for it. But if the pie is very large, you can have 10 or 12 or 15 people sharing, and it can be a lot for everyone. So it's not so much a specific deal. So here's a couple of issues when you think about bringing in partners. And I always think about this as a team sport. Always a good idea to have more than one person involved in a syndication or a hedge fund kind of environment, because there's a lot of responsibilities. The big responsibilities fall into the buckets of somebody has to be responsible for the real estate. Somebody has to be responsible for the capital raising. Somebody has to be responsible for the property or asset management. And somebody has to be responsible for the business management, which is the dealing with the investors, the vendors, and so forth. So there's four big buckets that I usually think about these things in. And whoever is going to do that, you have to have somebody, now, can one person do all of it? Yeah, one person can. It's rather rare. Usually somebody will take two or three, and the other person will take two or three. There'll be a little bit of overlap. If you have one person with a bunch of staff, you can do that. So it doesn't always have to be partners. But I generally think that partnerships or teams do a better job in this environment. So here's a couple things to think about. If you're going to bring somebody in, number one, if you set up the syndication structure by yourself, and then you go out and you look for a partner, that structure is going to have some value, and the person who comes in may not end up being a 50-50 partner, because you've already done a lot of work setting up the structure and get everything organized. So that's a big thing to think about. If two people start at the exact same time and they go 50-50, that's just perfectly fine. Let's say that somebody starts something and they want to bring somebody in later. What you might do is you might bring somebody in, and instead of just giving that person shares right off the top, you might create a vesting schedule where they earn those shares ratably or evenly over a certain period of time. That can be 3 years, 5 years, whatever you want. And that means if they leave at the end of a couple of years, if they've earned whatever they've earned, then they take it with them. So even if they're not involved anymore, they take it with them. That's something you want to think about. Do you want somebody taking an economic interest away and not working anymore? I mean, that's a big problem. So you want to think through some of these issues. So the big issue is not really so much how many people can be involved. It's really, what are the people going to do? How are they going to add value? And if somebody's going to take out some number of dollars, certainly the value they contribute needs to be more than that. The group needs to get more value than they pay. Otherwise, why would the group do it? And the person receiving it needs to feel good about what it is that they receive. So all the way around, just make sure that you have good contributors, good team members, that you have good structures, you have a good way of compensating the people who are involved, that they earn what they receive, and that they feel good about it. And that can help, listen, I help people figure these things out all the time. Attorneys write these things down and help people to get organized. So there are people that can help you to make this happen. You have to do a good job, because if you don't get it locked down on the front end, it's going to be a problem on the back end, and that's something that you certainly don't want to have happen. So lock down your details, get this organized very well, because it's a great business. All you have to do is go out and stake your claim.